Hello.
Hello, Janice, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Thanks for coming onto the podcast.
So what would you like me to talk about?
Well, let me rephrase this. What do you normally talk about on other podcasts?
What do I normally talk about? So I normally talk about I work with older adults
Okay.
and their children. So I talk a lot about how to navigate the challenges of aging parents. For health professionals, I talk a lot about how it is to deal with older adults as patients or the older adults as patients, how to deal with your doctors to have a better relationship. So I talk about that.
All right. Well, yeah, my audience is, it's a business podcast. So what I think we can talk about is this idea of parental care and parental advocacy, preparing your parents, because my mother-in-law, she's like 80 and, requiring more care. And, my parents are aging as well. I lost my mom very early on. So, successful aging, all these conversations would be of interest to the audience.
Well, you ask questions and I'll answer them.
Yeah. And it's a fireside. And like I said, it's nothing, it's a way to showcase your expertise, build your following, build your brand.
Yeah, I'm always happy to talk about older people. My father died
Hmm.
just about a year ago. So
Uh-huh.
I what I tell people is that when I come to this topic, I've been on both sides of the desk.
Yeah.
I've been there as a professional and I've been there as the child of aging parents.
Yeah.
So I have a unique perspective on both sides. I
Yeah.
know what it's like on both sides.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, let's do it. All right. Well, excellent. Okay. All right. I get started. So, hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And today's topic is all about successful aging. And I know for the audience out there who are doctors, professionals, I'm happy to welcome Janice Goldmintz, and she helps individuals prepare for elderly care, provide the highest quality of life at any age, any stage. Today's talk is all about successful aging. As we're aging, I feel the as well, and we're gonna talk about best living situations, parental care, and I'm happy to welcome Janice to the show. Welcome, Janice.
Thank you, Christopher. It's really great to be here.
Yeah, I know. We had connected through Podmatch, and like I said, like we were talking backstage, I lost my mom at an early age. My parents are growing older, my in-laws, all of that. So this is really important. So talk about your journey, your story, and how you help.
So for me, I kind of got into looking after older adults by watching my grandmother, who was strangely enough at just around my age, and she was in a nursing home. And I remember going there and thinking, this is terrible. This is not the way anybody should live the end of their life. And I thought to myself, this is not how I want my parents to have their care. And I was very lucky later on in life to work with a geriatrician who had one of the most amazing concepts of how to care for older adults. He looked at their diseases as well as their diseases. And it was a very holistic approach. And I got really pulled into that and ended up going back to school to get a degree in gerontology when I was older, and have now made that kind of my mission, is to make sure that older adults and their families really are able to create the best kind of quality of life, no matter what the challenges are.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And so talk about, I know with Eat Everything, there's principles. So what are some principles of successful aging?
So I think really it's mindset. I wrote a book actually called Getting Older But Not Old. And I think that that is it. We all want to get older. Everybody wants those numbers to go up, but we don't want to get old in the process. So, what can you do to keep yourself, I'll say, vibrant? And a lot of it is, caring for yourself, the food that you eat, the exercise that you do, the mindset you have, the social aspect that you have with people, your relationships with your family. All of those things that have nurtured you when you were younger are still extremely important when you get older, and even more so.
we're talking about, these principles, talking about how do you successfully prepare, like, we know what things do you need to do to prepare yourself as well as your family and your parents as well.
Well, there's one thing that I always suggest, and it's the red file. And it's not something that people want to talk about, but it can be very important. And that's just having somewhere all together, who is your doctor, who's your lawyer, who's your accountant, where are
Uh-huh.
your bank accounts, all of these things. Where's your living will? Where's your actual will? What would you want to have for your end of life kinds of care or whatever?
Uh-huh.
And it's fine to talk about that. It's not going to make it happen. But if something should happen, somebody knows exactly where to go to get it, and they will then be able to fulfill your wishes. And it doesn't make it worse to talk about it. It actually makes it better and have the family understand what the person wants later in life.
Yeah.
Not to say that that should be the focus. There are many things that we can do to have successful aging. One thing that I think is really important is in our work life, we have a purpose. And every day we wake up and we get up at a certain time and we go to the office or we do our thing. And then people go into retirement and they're feeling at odds. I have no focus. I have no direction. Just kind of all over the place. There are things that you can think about. What are the things that make me happy? What would I want to be able to do? What is important to me? Do I want to volunteer? Do I want to work in some other aspect? What is it I want to do that's going to give me purpose every day to get up and live life to the fullest?
Yeah, and so well said. So brings me to my next question is there's this question of where like parents, is they like for example, my mother-in-law it's a two-story house, we moved her to the first story so she don't there's not a fall
Yes,
risk.
yes.
And then I know another colleague, his dad, he had to consistently clean up after him. So this question of parents, should they live with you or how do you address this?
So I actually have a whole series of information on this called Should I Stay or Should I Go? And it is about how do you make that decision about where is best to live. And the important things really are finances. What do
Oh,
you have money to do? Do you have money to renovate your home? Do you have money to put in grab bars, elevators, stair lifts, whatever you may need?
yeah.
Or do you have money if something should happen medically to bring in help? These are all important things. As well, what are the social situations? Do you have your friends around there? Do you have your family? How does that figure into, what would be important? Your medical situation. Are you at a fall risk? Do you need a ramp because you're using now a walker? Is where you're living going to be usable for you with a walker, or is there other solutions? Um, and the other kind of supports. Where is your doctor? Where are those things that you're going to need? Are they close to you? And I think every family, the answer is different. For some people, it's staying in the home and aging in place. For other people, it's the retirement residence because that gives you socialization and food and recreation and colleagues and all of that. Every family is different, and again, it's that my whole focus is the goal of successful living is everybody comes together for the betterment of the older adults. It's not what I want, it's not what you want, it's what they want and what's best for them, and getting them on side and everybody on side sometimes can be a challenge.
Yeah. The other question is getting the family on board. And so how do you get family siblings on board and what's the best and then having difficult conversations?
It is challenging because it's like hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. If I don't talk about it, it won't happen. But what you want to do is to be prepared and not be faced with a situation where somebody has a health challenge or there's a death of a spouse or whatever, and there's never been any conversation about now what do we do. So it's kind of introducing in baby steps these conversations. Sometimes you can do it through the physician, sometimes you can do it with a lawyer or an accountant. Say, hey, oh, you know what, it's tax time. Hey, you know what, have you ever thought about dot, 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 or whatever that is? And you have to look at the dynamic in each family, because a lot of times in a family, it will fall on one child over the other, maybe whatever that is, the daughter, the oldest. And everybody has to, again, say, all right, we're going to come together for the betterment of the whole family. And yeah, there's dynamics, and oh, they liked you best and you did this and they supported you and they didn't support me and blah, blah, blah. And it happens. But you have to let go of that to some degree. Or it may actually, in some reality, fall on one child and not the other. And one may say, well, you do it. I'll provide money, but I don't want to be involved in the daily care. And you have to come to an agreement in your family that that may be what the acceptable answer is for you.
And how do you deal with burnout, caregiver burnout?
It's hard. It's like that old airplane thing that if you don't take care of yourself first, you can't take care of anybody. So, you got to put that oxygen mask on yourself before you give it to someone else. So you have to make sure that you can find ways to care for yourself, ask for help. And that help can be within your family, it can be within your faith community, it can be paid help, whatever it is that's going to allow you to have some balance of life. And it's a big deal, I think, for women who are in careers that are trying to balance their kids, maybe their grandkids, their parents, themselves, and trying to have some kind of a life while you've got all of these responsibilities on your back. And sometimes it's just saying, hold on, it's my turn now, and somebody else needs to step in here, or we need to figure this out as a family because I need a break. It's not always easy.
How can people contact you and follow you and reach out to you?
Well, I would love people to contact me. You can always find me at Janice at talkaboutaging.com, because that's what I do. I talk about aging. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook under Aging Parents and under Talk About Aging. And, email me, have a look at my website, talkaboutaging.com, and happy to answer questions and help you out.
Yeah, and for all the audience out there, let's thank Janice for coming on and sharing this advice, and be sure to give her social media a like and follow. And with that, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thanks for having me.